Hello dear learners, I am Professor M. Asum Raza from Department of Library Information Science, AMU Aligarh. Yesterday I told you about the change management and I told you how the change is inevitable. I told you the types of changes and how to overcome all those changes. Definitely there will be a lot of resistance from the employee, staff, management. There will be a lot of hurdles when you are trying to introduce a new system, new technology or new process. But ultimately, what is required is you need to have a right leadership to convince them, respect all the employees, and just cogently, convincingly try to make your staff, employees, patrons understand that any change in any organization will lead to the betterment of services, will lead to the betterment of the process, will lead to the betterment of the product. So ultimately, all the effort is in the direction to improve the product, process, and service. And in this process, the endeavor to sustain in the market, to survive in the market, to compete in the market. So, this is the motive of this management technique, that if a change is being introduced, how to overcome the reactions and what should be the principles of the changes. So in yesterday's lecture, I told you about the different types and different types of changes and what are the impacts of changes, what are the advantages of changes and what are the disadvantages of changes. In this very lecture, we will be discussing the principles of change management. Let's see. So when I am talking about this lecture, we'll be covering two important aspects. The content of this lecture will be two important aspects. One will be the principles of change management, and second, we will be emphasizing on the change management models. And under these models, we'll be discussing four different models. One is Lewin's change model, second is ADKAR model, and third is Kotter's change management theory, and fourth is McKinsey 7S model. These four models we'll be discussing. So let's start with the principle of change management. So the principles of change management, you can see that these are the perspectives. So you can see here the 8 important perspectives where you have clear vision and purpose, you have a strong leadership, you have stakeholders engagement, then you have change readiness and capacity, then you have incremental and iterative approach, and then you have flexible and adaptive planning, and then you have employees involvement and empowerment, and then the last we have celebrate success and sustain momentum. So these are the principles of change management. I'll just elaborate briefly to make you understand all these principles one by one. So basically the change management principles are foundational concepts that guide the process of planning, implementing, and managing organizational change effectively. These principles help ensure that change initiatives are successful, sustainable, and aligned with organizational goals. The principles, I'll take up one by one. Number one, clear vision and purpose. The change initiative should be driven by a clear and compelling vision of the desired future state. Leaders must articulate the purpose of the change, communicate it effectively to the stakeholders, and create buy in by demonstrating the benefits and rationale behind the change. Means the vision should be clear, the purpose should be clear whenever you are trying to introduce change. Number two, strong leadership. As I told you, strong leadership is required to introduce any kind of change, whether it is product, process, or procedure, or any change for that matter, that even in the services also, that has to be taken up in a very strong way, most effective way, most convincing way. Otherwise, the reaction, retaliation will be such that it will be difficult to implement, difficult to see the light of the day. So, the strong leadership and sponsorship is required. Change efforts require strong leadership and sponsorship from senior executives who champion the initiative, allocate resources, and remove obstacles to progress. Leaders must actively support and promote the change throughout the organization to foster commitment and engagement. Third is stakeholder engagement in communication. Effective communication is always important and is essential for engaging stakeholders, building trust, and managing resistance to change. Organizations should communicate openly and transparently about the reason for change, the expected impact, and the roles and responsibilities of stakeholders. Two-way communication channels should be established to solicit feedback, address concerns, and ensure alignment. Fourth, change readiness and capability. Organizations must assess their readiness for change and develop the necessary capabilities to support successful implementation. This includes identifying and addressing gaps in skills, knowledge, and resources, providing training and support to employees, and fostering a culture of continuous learning and adaptability. 5. Incremental and iterative approach. The change initiative should be approached incrementally and iteratively, allowing for small wins and quick wins to build momentum and demonstrate progress. Breaking down the change into manageable phases or stages helps mitigate risk, test assumptions, and make adjustments based on feedback and lessons learned. Next, flexible and adaptive planning. The change plans should be flexible and adaptive to accommodate unforeseen challenges, shifts in priorities, and evolving stakeholder needs. Organizations should adopt agile planning and decision making processes that enable them to respond quickly to changing circumstances and adjust course as needed. Next is employee involvement and empowerment. So, employees should be actively involved in the change process and empowered to contribute their ideas, expertise, and feedback. Engaging employees as change agents foster ownership, commitment, and accountability for driving change at all levels of the organization. And the last, celebrate success and sustain momentum. Celebrating milestones and successes along the way help maintain morale, motivation, and momentum throughout the change journey. Organizations should recognize and reward progress, acknowledge the contributions of individuals and teams, and celebrate achievements to reinforce desired behaviors and outcomes. So, these are the principles of change management, and whenever you are trying to uh, just introduce or incorporate any sort of change, at least try to see that you meet all these principles. And if you are meeting all these principles or taking care of all these things, all these important 8 elements, definitely you will be successful, or your endeavor will be successful in implementing the change and overcoming all the reactions. Lewin's change management model, developed by psychologist Kurt Lewin in the 1940s, is one of the earliest and most influential approaches to understanding the managing organizational change. The model is based on the idea that change involves a 3-stage process. The model is based on the idea that change involves a 3-stage process: unfreezing, changing, and rephrasing. So, what it means that we can examine here. Unfreezing, when I say, the stage involves preparing the organization for change by creating awareness of the need for change and reducing resistance to it. Leaders must communicate the reasons for change, highlight the problems with the current state, and create a sense of urgency to motivate stakeholders to support the change effort. Unfreezing involves challenging existing belief, attitudes, and behaviors to create a receptive environment for change. Second is changing. Once the organization is unfrozen, the change itself can occur. This stage involves implementing new processes, systems, structures, or behaviors to address the identified problems and achieve the desired objectives. Change initiatives may involve restructuring teams, introducing new technology, redesigning workflows, or altering organizational culture. Effective communication, stakeholder engagement, and the leadership are critical during this stage to ensure that the change is successfully implemented. And the last is rephrasing. In the final stage, the changes are reinforced and integrated into the organization's culture and systems to ensure their long-term sustainability. Rephrasing involves stabilizing the new state, embedding the changes into daily practice and routines, and reinforcing the desired behaviors through rewards, recognition, and organizational norms. This stage aims to prevent regression to the old ways of doing things and ensure that the change becomes the new status quo. Second, we have ADKAR model, where we have awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, reinforcement. So, ADKAR model, developed by Prosky founder Jeff Hyatt nearly 2 decades ago, has become a widely adopted framework for change management. It is utilized by change leaders worldwide to guide their change initiatives and improve their chances of successful implementation. The model's effectiveness and popularity stems from its clear and structured approach to understanding and managing individuals' changes. By focusing on the key elements awareness, desire, which you can see on the left hand side, awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. The ADKAR model, you can see A stands for awareness, D for desire, K for knowledge, and A for ability, and R for reinforcement. So that's why it is called as ADKR model. It helps change leaders address the unique challenges and needs of individuals during time of change, ultimately increasing the likelihood of successful outcome. Then one by one we will see what is awareness. The individuals need to understand why change is necessary and the implications of not changing. This involves communicating the reason behind the change and its impact on individuals and the organization. Number two, desire. Once individuals are aware of the need for change, they must develop a personal desire to support the change initiatives. This requires engaging stakeholders, addressing concerns, and highlighting the benefits of change to build enthusiasm and commitment. Third, K stands for knowledge. Individuals need the knowledge and information necessary to implement the change effectively. This involves providing training, resources, and guidance on the specific steps and actions required to adapt to the new way of working or behaving. Fourth, A, that is ability. Having knowledge is not enough. Individuals must also possess the skills and capabilities to implement the desired changes. This may involve acquiring new skills, practicing new behaviors, or adapting existing processes to align with the change objectives. And the R stands for reinforcement. Sustaining change requires ongoing support to maintain the new behavior and ways of working over time. This involves celebrating success, providing feedback, adjusting processes as needed, and embedding the change into the organizational culture to ensure its long-term viability. Third, we have Kotter's change management theory. So, the Kotter's change management theory, developed by Harvard Business School professor John Kotter, outlines an 8-step process for leading successful organizational change. The theory emphasizes the importance of creating a sense of urgency, building a guiding coalition, and empowering employees to drive change from within the organization. The eight steps you can see here, 8 steps are: number 1, create a sense of urgency. Establishing a sense of urgency helps motivate stakeholders to recognize the need for change and take action. Leaders must communicate the reasons why change is necessary and the potential consequences of inaction. Next, form a guiding coalition. Build a coalition of influential leaders and stakeholders who can champion the change initiative, provide support, and overcome resistance. This coalition should represent diverse perspectives and have the authority to drive change across the organization. Third, develop a vision and strategy. Creating a clear and compelling vision for the future state of the organization and develop a strategy for achieving that vision. The vision should inspire and align stakeholders, guiding their efforts towards a common goal. Then fourth, we have communicate the vision, which means to effectively communicate the vision and strategy to all stakeholders, ensuring that they understand the rationale behind the change and their role in achieving it. Communication should be open, transparent, and ongoing, addressing concerns and soliciting feedback. Fifth, empower broad-based action. Employees have to be empowered at all levels of the organization to take action and contribute to the change efforts. Provide the necessary resources, training, and support to enable individuals and teams to implement change initiatives and overcome obstacles. Sixth, we have to generate short-term win, means celebrate quick wins and milestones to build momentum and demonstrate progress. These early successes help reinforce the value of the change effort, boost morale, and maintain stakeholder commitment. Seventh, consolidate gains and produce more change, means build on the momentum of early success by scaling up change initiatives, addressing systemic barriers, and embedding new practices and behaviors into the organization's culture, continuously monitoring the progress and adjusting the strategies as needed. And the last, eighth, that is anchoring new approaches in the culture. So try to institutionalize change by embedding new approaches, values, and behaviors into the organization's culture and systems. Ensure alignment between organizational structures, processes, and practices to sustain long-term change and prevent regression. So the last model, McKinsey's 7S model. So basically the McKinsey's 7S model identifies 7 interrelated factors. You can see all these 7 factors are starting with S. Strategy, structure, systems, skills, staff, style, shared values, all starting with S. These are the 7 factors given by the McKinsey, and that is known as 7S model. So these are all interrelated factors that are critical for organizational effectiveness and success, where each has represent different aspects. You can see here. So we'll take up one by one. When I say first as strategy, this refers to the organization's plan for achieving its goals and objectives. It involves decisions about where the organization wants to go, what it wants to achieve, and how it will allocate resources to accomplish its mission. A clear and coherent strategy provides direction and purpose for the organization. Second S stands for structure. Structure refers to the organizational framework or hierarchy that defines how roles, responsibilities, and authority are distributed within the organization. It includes elements such as reporting relationships, departmental divisions, and decision-making processes. An effective structure should support the organization's strategy and facilitate communication, coordination, and collaboration among employees. Third, S stands for systems. Systems refer to formal processes, procedures, and workflows that govern how work is performed within the organization. This includes systems for resource allocation, performance management, information technology, and other key functions. Well-designed systems ensure efficiency, consistency, and compliance with organizational standards. Fourth S stands for skill. Skill encompasses the capabilities, competencies, and expertise possessed by employees at all levels of the organization. This includes technical skills, knowledge, and qualifications required to perform specific tasks or roles, as well as soft skills such as communication, problem solving, and leadership. Aligning skills with the organization's strategy ensures that employees have the capability needed to execute key initiatives and deliver results. Then fifth S stands for staff. Staff refers to the organization's workforce, including employees at all levels, from frontline workers to senior executives. It encompasses factors such as recruitment, hiring, training, development, and retention of talent. A skilled and motivated workforce is essential for executing the organization's strategy and driving performance. The sixth S stands for style. Style refers to the leadership style and culture prevalent within the organization. It encompasses the values, norms, beliefs, and behaviors exhibited by leaders and employees. A supportive and empowering leadership style, coupled with positive organizational culture, fosters engagement, innovation, and collaboration among the employees. And the seventh S, that is the last S, stand for shared values. The shared values represent the core belief, principles, and ethical standards that guide decision making and behavior within the organization. They reflect the organization's identity, purpose, and vision, and serve as a unifying force that aligns employees around common goals and objectives. Shared values are the foundation of organizational culture and shape how work is performed and relationships are cultivated within the organization. So, dear friends, you have seen what change management is, what are the principles of change management. We have seen all 8 important principles of change management, and then you have also seen the 4 important models of change management. So, how those models can be used for introducing any change, monitoring the change, supervising the change, and seeing it that it is actively implemented, positively implemented, and actually it yields the result also. So definitely you can see in all these models the emphasis is on the strategy, on the structure, on the system, on the skill and the staff. So this remains the constant factors in all these four models. So whenever any organization is planning to introduce or incorporate any change in the practice, process, product, services, definitely all these things needs proper reorientation. And when all these things are properly reoriented, then only a proper result can be expected. Any change should not be chaotic. It should not be disturbing. It should not be something which everybody has to think of, or which is disturbing, really disturbing for all the employees, all the patrons, and the management also. So change should be for the betterment. So how it can be done, how it can be reinforced, and how you can be sure that this change will ultimately lead to the betterment of the organization. And this is what you have to convince your staff, you have to convince your patrons that whatever changes you are going to make in the services, whatever changes you are going to make in the product, whatever changes you are going to make in the process will ultimately be beneficial in future for you or for the patrons or for the staff. And because we have to be the leaders, we have to be the brand ambassadors, we have to be ahead of others, we have to be competitive. So definitely you have to introduce a change very, you can say, gradually and in such a manner that it doesn't hamper the growth of anyone, it doesn't hinder the services, it doesn't alter, or you can say alters the objectives of the organization. Ultimately, everything has to be unidirectional, that whatever we are doing, whatever changes we are trying to incorporate, ultimately those changes should be in the favor of achieving the objectives of the organization. And if we can do it in a better way, we are successful, organization is successful, all the employees are successful. And last of all, what is important is, whenever you are trying to do anything, do not forget to celebrate the success. Off and on you will see that telling you in all these lectures, and even you must have seen in the 14 principles of management given by Henry Fayol also, that award is something which is always important. Whenever you want to do anything, or whenever you want to have a positive, you can say, output, or you want to have more efficient employees, so definitely you have to think on the award and reward strategy. So, and in any organization or in any work, if you find that somebody is doing it successfully, rewarded for it, and because that accomplishment, whenever you try to reward someone or try to celebrate the success, it gives motivation to your employees. It gives motivation to your employees, and they are boost up, and this really boosts up their morale. And when their morale is high, they get the energy, then definitely it will impact your output. So the employee, those who have good morale, those who have high energy, those who are highly enthusiastic, will perform better than anybody else. So whenever you are trying to deduce the changes, try to see that all these elements, all these factors, they play their role. And when they are interconnected, they interplay and ultimately produce a result jointly. It cannot be said that the system is more and the structure is less and the strategy is more and the skill is less. No. All these factors you will find, they are interrelated, interconnected. You require proper coordination, proper cooperation. Cooperation and coordination is something, they are very important between the divisions, among the organizations, because just suppose you talk about a bigger organization and you have so many divisions. What is important is you should have proper cooperation and coordination within the division as well as among the divisions. So when you have proper cooperation, coordination, collaboration, and successfully they are able to understand each other, they understand the organization's objective, they collaborate well, coordinate well, and ultimately it is the time that the efficiency will be much better. So organization will be able to give a better output, better efficiency, and it will be a hassle free, and the proper leadership has to ensure that all these things are there in the organization in true sense. If we can do that, we can manage any sort of change, and we can manage or we can introduce any technique, any principle, any theory, or any philosophy of management in the libraries or in any organization which has, you can say, which has service orientation or which has product orientation. So with this, I will complete my lecture here. Thank you very much.